The 19th annual Lushootseed Children's Circle is dedicated to Inez Bill and the late Henry Hank Gobin for their tireless efforts in revitalizing our cultural ways. Inez has shared teachings with our whole community through the Rediscovery Program and blessed the language program with some special teachings that help them do their work today. Hank was one of the key leaders who fought for and managed the language program in its early years, since the program's birth in the early 90s. We raise our hands to Inez for her dedication in our cultural ways, and we honor Hank for his vision and leadership to keep the cultural fires burning.
We want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us at the 19th annual Lushootseed Language Camp. Thank you all for taking the time out to be here. We have some of our kids here who have been a part of camp since they were 5 years old. This is a camp for 5 to 12-year-olds, and as soon as they hit that 12-year-old mark, they still want to participate. So we have a handful of them that are now group leaders. So we want to thank you, the parents, for having your kids participate in this, because without your kids here, we would be putting on a play with just our staff, and I don't think that would be that entertaining. So we want to thank you for being here. As with all of our gatherings, we like to start out with a prayer. So we're going to ask Maria Martin to come up here and open us up with a prayer.
O shaksiab, igwitsi twalti lalit slachel, igwitsi twal tarduf dek, gwahalit ti atil tabu asko, gwatechech ti eshids, gwatechech ti il as chel, gwatechech ti il as chwel, gwatechech ti il shabab, gwakwahwat Tabush Altis Ebashtush. Creator, we thank you for another day. We thank you for this gathering. Bless the people that are here and take care of their families. Look out for those that are sick, those that are lost, and those that are in need. Help us along our journey. Obasista, Iguitsid.
Another thing that we would like to do, as we do at all of our Friday ceremonies, is we would like to call on witnesses. So at this time, we would like to call on Hank. We want to ask you if you can come up and be a witness. And we would also like to call on Patty. So just a little recap on what the kids have done this week. We've had about 35 kids. It fluctuates a little throughout the week, but we've had 35 kids that attended camp this week. They get broken up into 5 different groups based on their age level. And they have group leaders that help them go to 8 different stations. Those stations include songs. Michelle and Carrie did the songs group. Eliza and Derek did the games. Eliza's also back here. We had Miss Sarah, who did traditional teachings. In the back, Miss Nikki did our weaving station. Maria did language. Miss Brittany and Miss Tasha did the art station. Dave, behind the camera, did our technology station. Every year at camp, we like to invite some of our community members, some of our elders, to come out and witness the work that the kids do each week. We had Waquidab come here one day and share a story with the kids, so we thank you again for coming here to do that and share a story with them.
Oh, see, my young ones here. My name is Andy Williams. My Indian name is Waquidab. Waquidab. Like to share a bear claw story? Listen up very good. A long time ago, there lived a Kaya and a young boy who was beginning to grow up. He was becoming very, very antsy, and the Kaya could see this. So the Kaya began to weave a big basket, a big one. And this young boy began to notice this. and asked Grandma, "Why are you making such a big basket?" Says, "I'm going to send you to the mountains to go pick berries for me." So early that morning, the boy goes up to the mountains, got this big basket, and he starts picking berries. He's not eating them. He starts to find a lot of berries. He's really excited. So he's going to go home and share this with his grandma. But begins to walk down the mountain. And in the trail, what does he see? A big bear. So the boy puts the berries down and hides behind a cedar tree. And the bear comes along, sees these berries, and begins to eat them all. Oh, this work this kid put into these berries. The bear eats them. So the boy begins to cry by a cedar tree. And this made the bear feel really bad. So the bear came up to the boy and told him to cut my fingernails and bring this necklace home to your grandmother, and she'll know where you've been and who you've seen. So this boy did this and brought the necklace home to the grandmother, who knew where the boy was and what he did and what he achieved. Oh, see him. Any questions about the story? You guys are well-mannered. The story is that the boy was beginning to become a young man, and the grandmother seen this, so she sent the boy to the mountains to get his spirit, his tamangus. A little extra there, thank you.
How can we say thank you?
Yeah, see, when you guys begin to grow up, your body goes through changes like these drums and these songs, and this language is very important to carry on and to learn. Can you guys hear me? And to learn and to remember. Because down deep inside you is a spirit that's growing. And this home here, this is a spiritual home. The men right there were healers. All you children are very important to the community. You guys are going to grow up and you're going to take the places here. And you're going to learn how to get up and to speak. Like to speak from the heart, or to speak from your belly. Like, whoa, see-em. To speak it out loud, don't hold that back. Learn to speak up and to say things from your heart, and they'll never fail you. Same thing with the songs are important to learn them. The plays are important to learn because you guys learn to take your place in your community. You guys are the future. That's important. Thank you.
We had Stephen Gobin Jr. who came out and shared some good words with the kids, shared a song. So we want to remind you that when we have language camp, you are welcome to come in at any time throughout the week and look over the kids' shoulders and sit beside them and see everything that they're very excited to be working on. And the last station that they participated in was the play station. And that's our grand finale for this week. At each of the stations, the lesson plans were based on one theme, and that theme is the Seal Hunting Brothers, a story that has been passed down by Saswija Martha Lamont. That's what the kids have worked very hard on, practicing some lines, singing some songs, so that they could pass on these teachings to all of you today. We are going to start off with the story, The Seal Hunters.
Al Turi tu Hath. A long time ago, before the world became the way it is today, there lived a man who was famous for his canoe carving. His wife was younger than he was.
Kuayus Al Turi Tualti Al Altut Hoekati Slos. The canoe carver worked far away from the village, so he would be gone a lot. His wife had 2 brothers, well-known seal hunters. This family lived at Priest Point long ago.
Zagwazuwewe. Tizadi. The 2 young men were excellent at getting food from the sea. Seals, salmon, halibut. They always brought back food from the sea.
Kukwabitiis. Kukwaltiis. Gruashtibakwa. Kalbatsilid. Twaltisokwas. Ibadbadats. Golakt. Twalti-alls. Not only that, they cleaned it, butchered it, cooked it. They fed all the people. They even dished up their sister and her children and brought meals to her house. Degwe. Sluhagid. Please, Luch the chill. A chachist. The quatu of. Here.
There's enough, so you could put some aside for your husband when he gets back.
Kasathlid.
There is plenty. Pluak alba. Sokas akli. Isulag. Ischog. Asquil. They brought seal meat, salmon, halibut, all cooked. Their sister and children would eat everything. There would be nothing left for her husband when he arrived.
Kweu. Quidas atub. Ati olosh. Quis atlid. Twalti isachas. Didn't your brothers bring anything for the family?
Wait, sushabab ti. Wekus tish dub. Holab atis hois. Wekwi tush all. No. It's a shame how they act. They didn't take care of us the way brothers-in-law should.
He did not know she was lying. He only saw his children's dirty faces, where she had smeared ashes to hide the oil from the salmon they had eaten.
Golapo. Juxtieth, twal, gui, asuk, alusha blup. Huequi, gudus, guad, dualatid, ti'id, sasled chaf. Here, use this to cover your faces. Don't speak of what we eat.
Sutab. Siobil. Tibadbadats. He thought his children were going hungry. He decided to take action against his brothers-in-law. Klobchud, Flupayak, Atisopkas. They need to pay for the disrespect they have shown my family. Ikoilik, Atisopkas. To all quick like. He carved a seal out of cedar snag. He worked on it until it was perfect. He thought it to bend itself back the way a real seal does and to bark like the real thing. Then he put it on a rock in the bay. Shoots, all tooty. Look what is out there. It is just waiting for you great seal hunters. They went after the seal, and their 2-man seal hunting canoe. As soon as they harpooned the seal, it dove into the sea and began to pull them away from land. It swam so fast, the one brother could hardly steer.
Let go. We are out of control. Let go of the rope.
Patsuchud. Quality. I'm trying. My hands are stuck.
Something has been done to them. They were pulled through the water for days. Fog wrapped around them. They didn't know where they were headed. Finally, they ran aground.
Chadawacha. Where are we? Where has the seal taken us?
Quegojitide. I'll shoot Satiak. I'll suit up Chud. Us hide Chud.
I don't know, but look there, nice map.
I don't know, but look there.
I think I know what has been done to us.
I think I know what's been done to us now.
It has taken us far away, far from where we were.
A suit eat stocks, a seat, all to eat, quatite. They saw the harpoon stuck into a cedar snag. That's when they knew the sister's husband has done this to them. But why? Altites. Back at the village, the mother and grandmother were mourning for them.
What has become of my boys? Will they ever return? I fear that they will not return. We need to take care of their belongings.
Sutab Uatbud Teeth Labud. They thought the two young men had died. The women cut their hair and they would always go out to the rocks and cry. They had burned the young man's possessions. Hogwash, T-E, swales, toy book, T-E, lugwub. After a long time, the young men made their way back home. They told what had happened to them.
We have always taken care of our people. We have always fed our relatives. Whenever the sister's husband would leave, we would feed her and her children.
We would tell her to set aside some food for her husband, but she wouldn't feed him. She lied to him. She made her kids lie. She didn't give him food. This food we would leave for him, our relative. This food we would catch to feed our people.
At this point, the way the story is told, not much is said about the sister and what happened when the news came out. Something has happened to her. I don't know how she got killed. After that, the brothers couldn't stay at the village.
Club chest, slugs. We must go. We cannot stay. She's gone. Our sister is gone now.
Dos buddies. We lived respectable lives, but she lied.
Slug, chest. Since she is gone, we must leave. We must go now.
The sister had died
From what they had been told.
from what they have been told.
Yet her lies
Her lies
were the reason
were the reason
for everything that happened.
for everything that happened.
These young men live a different life elsewhere. They and their descendants became the pod of killer whales that hangs around outside the bay. This is how it later came about that when the people at Priest Point were starving, the descendants of those seal hunters would come to help out.
H. Crab your lab, your lab. Quack tabusi. Killer whales. Your ancestors are my ancestors. Please help us. These hoys. That's the end. We see. Tig will see the moose. Thank you. Thank you.
That is the play that they worked on for the story, The Seal Hunters. I know it was hard to hear. We don't have a good microphone system for inside of here. And a lot of the kids were starting to work on their longhouse voice. So we apologize in advance if they practice their longhouse voice at home at the wrong time. but they were learning how to speak up, speak loud enough so that everybody in the room could hear them. So a little bit of background to this story. The seal hunting brothers is a great story. We're used to having so many stories that are really small, that can be told in a short amount of time. But this story actually comes from a long story that Martha told, and it was over 900 lines. So we had to really break it down for this play, and it's also a story that's in the Vision, Mission, Values book that the tribe uses for our values. So it's a really, really small version, and this story helps tell why the killer whale is a tribal emblem. So now that we are finished with our play and our kids are sitting respectful, put those down. We are going to call on our witnesses and we're going to ask them to come up, share some words with the kids. Maybe if they have some reminders or they want to give them praise, whatever's on their heart and mind, whatever they want to share. So we'd like to ask Hank to come up and share some words with our kids.
I want to thank these kids for bringing back the days that were before we came, or before this new world is going on. The way they lived. I remember my grandmother, Martha Lamont, she was my grandmother. She lived right across that creek. Battle Creek it was called. They called it Battle Creek because they used to gamble there. All the loggers used to go there and gamble. They used to fight. That's what they call it, gambling. I mean, Battle Creek. That was just a nickname. And my grandmother was a Sion. She was a smokehouse. She changed from smokehouse to shaker. And from then on, she was a bishop when she passed away of the church, Shaker Church. I moved away from here when I was about 5. My dad died when I was 3. My mother remarried. I had to go live with my grandmother and my brother in Wapato, Washington, Yakima Valley. My senior year, I came home. I came back to Marysville. And I went to see my grandmother. And she said, Hank, come to the house every Sunday, probably about noon or afternoon. We'll have dinner. We'll have dinner together. We've been apart all that time since I was small until I was a senior in high school. But I used to come back and visit her when I was growing up. But she wanted me to come there every Sunday and eat. Then I'd go home. And I remember I was there one time, and this guy came up to the door, knocked on the door, and he came in. He had a box. He set it up. He sat on the table by Martha, and he talked to her in our language. A white guy. He knew the language. He learned from Martha. He was from University of Washington. That's where this story came from. That's where all her stories went to university. So I'm glad you children has done the parts, each one of you. My grandmother's still here. And it's really something to see. Lifts my heart up, makes me feel good. That, she hasn't gone, she's still here. And she was a kind woman, smart. She was smart for an old lady. I mean, real. Doctor said she must have been 100 or so when she passed away. And I thought, these children are learning something good. I hope they don't forget it, because that's going to carry on with them for the rest of their lives on this reservation. while I was in high school, I remember reading a magazine saying all our people in the world are going to become one. There's going to be no whites, no blacks, no browns, no reds, no yellow, all one, mixed. So it's happening. So, you know, keep our language home. When I left here, that's all I knew was our language here. And I went to Wapto. My grandmother had to teach me how to speak English in order to send me to school. So when I went to school, I guess I had an accent or something, and the kids used to make fun of me. But I got out of that 3 or 4 years, and I had a hard time in school because the war started, and my uncle, 2 uncles left. One didn't come back. And I always wondered, you know, what's a war for? But that's things to remember. My grandson, Tiari, he's all right. You're all right, guy? He's one of the best. And he's quite a ball player, too. So I thank you, everybody, for being here, taking time to watch the children do their language, learn their language. And my grandmother used to call me Posted. That's a white man, because I didn't know the language. Because when I left here, they taught me how to speak English over there, and that's all I knew. So that's why she called me Posted and laugh at me, you know, make fun of me. But, you know, I'd pick up some language, words that she said, because she used to pray every meal. She'd pray before the meal and after the meal. And I remember she had a little dog named Tumalish. She taught him how to pray. A dog, a little dog. Small one, a little black and white one, but you know, with the one black eye. And she says, well, we got to pray. And he'd have a chair at the table. And he'd put his nose between his and pray. And my grandfather says, hallelujah. He'd stand up and raise one paw. That's really something when you teach your dog how to pray and say hallelujah, you know. It was really good, you know. That's how they were, you know. They taught everything. My grandfather had down this creek, he had a canoe, dugout canoe. He let me use it to go out, row around, go fishing. So things like that. I remember, and I hope these kids don't forget what they're doing. Continue it, because our language is dying out, and we have to bring it back. I'm glad for the people that are learning, picking it up. The teachers of these kids are teaching them their language. That's great. Keep it going and get stronger. And it's in the schools now. I'm glad of that. So praise the Lord. I love that. Only thing we got to bring back is prayer in school. Thank you.
Squatall? Yeah, it's for the camera, I know. It's an honor for me to be chosen as a witness. My traditional name is Squatall. I carry the ancestral name of my great-great-grandmother Betsy McLean from my mother's side.
My mother is Dolores Gobin. Her mother was Selim Young, and she comes from the Young clan and the McLean clan. And my father is Bernie Gobin, and his traditional name was Kai Kai. And my grandparents are Joe and Ruth Gobin from my father's side, and Selim Young from my mother's side. My great-grandparents are Lucy and George Young from my mother's side, and from my father's side, Nancy Boomhouse Jones, and she married Tom Gobin, and that's where the Gobin name comes from. And I am Snohomish, and I am Snoqualmie and Upper Skagit. I'm also a French-Canadian Hudson Bay trader. I would like to say what I witnessed is a dream come true. My grandmother marched from the cemetery to this longhouse when she was 5 years old to witness her parents and her grandparents, her aunties and her uncles singing our songs. She was in the Tulalip boarding school. She was forced to go there. When she went there, she spoke Lushootseed, and that was it. At 5 years old. How many of you are 5? Can you come stand here, Katie? Your great-great-grandmother went when she was this size. And when she left that school at 19, she did not speak our language. Her first language was Lushootseed, her second was English. But when she left that school at 19, she still spoke her language fluently, but she would never teach it to me. She said that she did not want me to be hurt the way she was hurt for speaking her language. When she was with people like Martha Lamont, and her great-granddaughter's here, and she carries her Indian name, and I'd love for her to stand up and tell us your name. You carry your great-grandmother's traditional name, her name. And I was taught that when I say my name, not only me, but my ancestors stand at attention, and they all come here because they wonder about Betsy McLean. And my grandmother, Betsy McLean, comes here and she looks at me to see if I am carrying her name in a good way. And I'm hoping that she's proud of me. But I'd love for you to say Martha's traditional name. I did not know Martha's traditional name, but I knew Martha. I called her Auntie Martha. I was kind of scared to go to her house because she didn't have just one dog, she had lots of dogs. It was called Dog's Alley because of Levi and Martha. But I would go there and I would play in their yard with their dogs, and Martha would make me sugar with a little bit of tea. That's what I had with Martha.
I got my Grandma Martha's name from my father, my dad, and her name is Saswi Khab.
And with these songs being sung and these words coming to life, I'm honored, Hank, that your grandmother is here with us. I know I could feel her. I've always felt her here amongst us. And she was waiting. The old people would say they've been waiting for this day. For this day when we would stand here and speak these words again, and as we speak them, more and more gifts will come out in words and in songs and in gifts and in carving and in weaving, and you see all the beautiful things that are happening amongst us, our people. All these words, all these songs are your songs, all of our songs. This is who we are as Coast Salish people. And so when you see little Katie, and this is history and it is true, and you know that she would have been put in prison for speaking her language. And that's what happened to my grandma. She was locked up in a prison down below the Montessori school because what do little children do? We saw they get antsy, right? Little children love to play. And as soon as my grandma got into the boarding school, and the dorm was very similar to this building, and we used to do all our meetings in the dorms that were left over from the boarding school. My grandma said she laid in her little bed, and all the other 5-year-old little girls from all other reservations, all other tribes and family clans were laying there, and she said, "What is your word for dog?" And she said, "Mine is skobite." And each little girl began to say what their word and how they say it, because you could go to, we go to Marysville now or Stanwood, you could go that far and our language changed just that much. And as they began to say it, they called this lady that watched over them a matron. The light went on, and she said, "Who is speaking their language here? It's against the law. It's wrong." And all the little girls went silent, and my grandma, being my grandma, said, "I did." And they took my grandma and they put her in a jail for 48 hours or 2 days, she said. And how they made that jail, and this is for the adults to know, and for you children to know how privileged you are to speak our language, to be able to smile and do it and have the freedom to do so, that makes your heart feel good. She said that they put her in that little jail at this size, and that it was built so that there was about this much room on the bottom all the way around, and it had a roof on it and a door, no windows. The only light coming in was that little space down at the bottom. And as the tide came in Tulalip Bay, the tide came in on my grandma's little legs. 2 days she stayed in there without food and water, she said. And from that day forward, she said, "I will never speak my language." And she witnessed many things that happened to our children, our ancestors, for doing that. And so it's exciting to see this not revived, that it's come to life, because we believe that our language is life. It has a life of its own, and it's intertwined with not only our intellect of how we think about it, but the songs we sing, the baskets we weave, and the drums we make, the carvings we make, and the beautiful souls of our beautiful children. And I'm very proud of you children. Thank you for doing something that I cannot do at this point. I don't speak my language. You've said more than I've ever said in my whole lifetime. I can say my name, I can say foods, I can talk about different animals, what their names are, and a few cuss words. But I can't speak my language. My goal before I die is to learn my language so I can speak it with my grandchildren. And I'm just really proud of our teachers. I know what the elders would say to our teachers. You have a gift that you are responsible for. You have a gift within you that you have to hand down and you have to work at. And I know it gets discouraging. I know it gets difficult. But that gift you can never keep to yourself, because that's what's going to make us more and more and more alive as a people. And I want to thank you and honor you today for bringing this back and for teaching our little ones. I have 2 grandbabies that were here today participating. I have nieces and nephews, and I'm probably related to everybody here. But I'm just so proud of what I've witnessed here today, and it's been done in a good way, a good way. And to you children, be proud of who you are as Indian people, as Coast Salish people, as Tulalip people, Yakima people, wherever we come from, we need to be proud. But most importantly, I'll tell you exactly what Martha Lamont would say to you, what my grandmother Selam Young would say to you. They would tell you to be respectful, to be still, to be quiet when someone older is speaking, to always listen, because one day you'll be telling this same story, and you'll be telling the next generation long after we're gone of who we are as a people. So listen good, be respectful. And I seen your teachers telling you, you know what? You're lucky you weren't when we were little, right, Hank? you wouldn't have an ear left. You'd be in big trouble, and you'd get a switching. That's what we got. Hank probably got something different. I got a switching. You are always to be still and be quiet when you're in a place like this. You know why? Who's your grandmother?
No.
You don't know?
You?
Me, I'm your auntie. But my grandma always said, you remember who you are, where you come from, and when you leave these doors, you represent me. Don't let anyone think by how you're acting is how I act or how I taught you how to act. So remember that you represent your family, okay? I love you all. You're so beautiful. And so many of you I've seen in salmon ceremony. And you know what I say? Be quiet in here. That's my biggest words. Be quiet in here. Thank you.
If you have quarters, shake her hand.
Oh, I know.
I want to thank our witnesses for sharing those words. Thank you for your words. Our last bit of work that we're going to do is going to be done while everybody's enjoying a meal together. We do have some food. We want you, if you're able to stay back with us, enjoy some lunch with us, and while you're eating, our kids are going to be giving you some giveaway items. Some of the stuff that they worked on this week, some handmade items that were made with love and lots of teachings. And another thing that I want to do that I didn't want to leave out since we have some teachers here, we did have some teachers from the Quilceda Tulalip Elementary School that volunteered this year to be group leaders. So we want to acknowledge Mrs. Hanson, Miss O'Brien, Miss Hanby, and Mrs. Byer. Thank you for being here with the kids. And before we do our meal and break apart to go over there, we want to have the kids share a dinner prayer. Shlut iwis chat, let us pray.
Oh ha ha, shaksiab, utigri tichas, twaltiks lahil, utigri tichas, twaltiks achas, walakwi tichas, kwahali chas, tiets lok chas, kwahali chas, tiets aslit achas, kwahali chas, tiets aslit chas, Krobasista. Creators, we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing us to be here together. We ask that you bless our elders, bless our children, bless those who are in need, bless the fishermen, bless this food. Amen.
All right, you guys, our elders are going to eat first. So we want you guys to get with your group leaders, so that as your people are dishing up, you can start doing the giveaway items.
The young men live in different lives elsewhere.
They and their descendants became a pod.
They tamed the pod up to the whales.
This is how
the later came about.
people at Priest Point
The people at Peace Point
were starving.
were starving.
The hunters came and helped.
The hunters came and helped. Their lives were the reason for everything that had happened.
For everything that had happened.
For everything that had happened.
We have always taken care of our people. We have always fed our relatives.
Every time our sister's husband would leave,
Every time our sister's husband would leave, we would feed her and her children.
Something had happened to her. I did not know how she got killed. They saw their harpoon stuck into a cedar sack. That's when they knew their sister's husband had done this to them. But why?
During the second week of the 19th annual Lushootseed Children's Circle, we honored and wrapped the family of the late St. Sean Conway. He is the son of J.K. Soodle, Chucky Jones, and Sean Conway, and nephew of Rosie Topham. All of J.K.'s children have attended camp, each one excited to turn 5 so that they could participate. St. Sean spent 3 years at camp, feeding our spirits with his hugs and gentle smile. Since his passing, we have wanted to honor his family for their presence at camp over the years. We wrap them with blankets as a reminder of the mark that St. Sean had left in our community. Carrie Michael Williams presented JK and her family with a beautiful Pendleton. The design, Big Medicine Blanket, had 7 buffaloes that represent each one of JK's children.